All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
Hello, welcome to this weekend's NASCAR Quick Hit here for SHIPIT Nation. I am Eric, also known as TheGame on Discord, and tonight we are going to be previewing the Mobile One 301, which is taking place at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I made sure to mention the word preview there, as we are recording this video on Friday evening, the day before practice and qualifying is set to take place at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So this quick hit video is a little bit different than what we are normally used to, as I'm going to be highlighting a few drivers that we want to be on the lookout for during Saturday's practice and qualifying session. And all of my final thoughts concerning the slate will be held in the slate plan, which is over at SHIPITNation.com. And while we're speaking of SHIPITNation.com, let me go ahead and switch tabs that I'm sharing. It's only taken me 67 times doing this, where I'm switching tabs on the share like a professional. While I'm mentioning this late plan over at SHIPIT Nation, let me of course mention the 3 days for $3 promotion taking place over at SHIPITNation.com. Code 343 gets you any 3-day trial for 3 days, obviously, for any monthly all access plan. And then that of course gets you 3 days of the Stone projections, content slate plans, everything with SHIPIT Nation. So code 343, SHIPITNation.com. You owe it to yourself to check it out if you haven't already. Plus, we are partnered with SaberSim, the #1 optimizer in the game. So if you are looking for DFS content, you won't do better than us over at ShipItNation.com. All right, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. What do we want to know about New Hampshire Motor Speedway? Well, New Hampshire Motor Speedway is a short flat track, and there will be roughly 210 Dominator points up for grabs tomorrow. So it's a short flat track, 210 Dominator points available, more if it goes into NASCAR overtime. Normally, I was surprised with this next fact. Normally, I would say that New Hampshire is a boring race. And as we go through the last 3 races here, the last 3 next-gen races here in a second, you'll see that it seems to be a single Dominator racetrack. But I was surprised by the amount of cautions that New Hampshire has given us. Last year's race, the USA Today 301, the 2024 edition, that was won by Christopher Bell, and that had 14 cautions for 85 laps. Now, last year's race did have rain involved. NASCAR did use damp tires for maybe like a third of the race. So I can see the uptick of cautions there, but still 14 for 85 laps. I was very surprised over. In 2023, 8 cautions for 41 laps, and 2022, 9 cautions for 52 laps. So expect some cautions on Sunday, which kind of surprises me because, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of been single dom heavy. 2024, Christopher Bell was above and beyond the show. He led 149 laps last year at New Hampshire. Now, once again, there was rain in the last third of that race, but he was just as powerful in the last third as he was the first, or the first 2/3 of that race. So Christopher Bell dominated last year, led 149 laps. The second next highest lap leader of last year's race would have been, let's see here, Tyler Reddick led 53, Chase Elliott led 41, and Denny Hamlin led 43. So C. Bell led almost triple anybody else last season en route to his victory. Back in 2023, well, it was even more of a stink show. Martin Truex Jr., who is now retired, started second, finished first, and led 254 laps out of 301. 254 out of 301. There you really only needed one Dom. And back in 2022, Truex again led 172 out of 301, but he only finished fourth. C-Bell won the race in 2022. So C-Bell has won 2 next-gen races at New Hampshire and dominated last year's race and led 42 laps back in 2022. And Martin Truex Jr. was the other driver who dominated back in 2023 and led laps, and a lot of them in every single race. But he's retired. However, there is a very strong driver in his car currently. So that Martin Truex data should not be ignored, and we'll speak about that here in a second. So, as far as who I think should be potential DOMs, you will have to check in to the slate plan, as I mentioned earlier, on SHIPITNation.com for that information. But this is appearing to be a 1 or at most 2 Dominator setup for Sunday. Now, we're going to go old school, where I used to talk about 4 drivers. And that's what we're going to do this time. We're going to highlight 4 drivers who I wanted to speak about. And who I think should be on your radar on Sunday. And that very first driver is Christopher Bell. He has been amazing at New Hampshire. As I mentioned, he won the 2024 race, he won the 2022 race, finished second in the 2021 race. Now, in 2023, he did finish 29th, but he started on the pole. And back in 2020, he finished 28th from a 35th starting position, but he was with like Levine Family Racing, and that's like a super like start park dog crap team. So we'll leave that outlier there. So Christopher Bell, current odds-on favorite to win, and for good reason. He is fantastic here. It does not matter where he starts on Sunday for me. I will have exposure and a lot of it to Christopher Bell. The next driver I wanted to mention is Joey Logano. Joey Logano is currently, what's he on the books currently? He's currently plus 1,000, so he's decent odds compared to some others. The reason I want to highlight him is because he, alongside of Christopher Bell, took place in the Goodyear tire test that occurred in New Hampshire back, I believe it was middle of June. And the reason I mention it is because Joey Logano and the Team Penske team really seems to excel at races that occur after tire tests they participated in. The one that really stands out to me is the North Wilkes-Barre. I think it was the All-Star race one, where they participated in a tire test and Joey just waxed the field with the competition. I think it was North Wilkes-Barre. Maybe it was Bowman Gray. But one of those races, Joey Logano absolutely just waxed the ever-loving field. And it was a big part of he was able to take part of that tire test, and crew chief Paul Wolf was able to get extra time on that track with that said tire. And in my opinion, if Joey Logano is going to advance in this round of the playoffs, he needs to win New Hampshire, because the next 2 races in the playoffs next week is Kansas. And then the final race of this round is the Roval. I don't think Joey Logano is a threat to win Kansas. It's a half mile. We're going to be looking at the Larsons, the Reddicks, the Bubbas, the Hamlins. Anybody next week at Kansas who can rip the wall. That's who we're going to be looking at. And that's not Joey Logano. And the Roval, I mean, hello, we have Shane Van Gisbergen in the field. So, like, can you really trust Joey Logano to go out and mono SVG at the Roval? So, if Joey wants to lock himself into the next round of the playoffs, I think he has to do it here at New Hampshire, and he has the tire test. And him and his Penske team have a very uncanny knack of just falling into situations that benefit them. So, as I mentioned earlier with Seabell, I don't care where Joey starts this race, I will have plenty of exposure to Joey Logano. Up next is Chase Briscoe. He's been awesome this season. He's been fantastic, and he finished second in this race just last season. Yes, it was in damp conditions, and he did seem to excel in those damp conditions, but he is driving the Martin Truex Jr. car, who, as I mentioned earlier, back in 2023, he won the race and led 254 laps. Back in 2022, he finished fourth, started on the pole and led 172. It's not like that 19 team does not know how to get around New Hampshire. They absolutely do. And Chase Briscoe is a bona fide championship contender. It would not surprise, I think, any of us watching this video to see Chase Briscoe in the final four. And I don't think it would surprise any of us to see him win on Sunday. Christopher Bell or Chase Briscoe, my two picks are possible winners on Sunday if you're interested in that. And last but not least is, and I can't believe this is the driver who I'm gonna end this on, but he deserves it, man. John Hunter Nemechek. I'm not sure what happened. Well, I think I kind of might know what happened. Over these last few weeks, starting roughly around Daytona, no, he finished. So the last half of this season, John Hunter and his Legacy Motor Club team have really turned it on. Finished 12th at Indy, 15th at Iowa. Then a couple outliers here. Watkins Glen was a 32nd. Richmond was a 36th. But then Daytona, 17th. Darlington, 4th. Gateway, 6th. Bristol, 14th. Like, those are solid numbers for John Hunter Nemechek. So we have to assume that's going to keep up at Darlington this upcoming weekend. Not Darlington, at New Hampshire, rather. My apologies. So he's just been hot. And how much is he on DraftKings? I forget off the top of my head. 6,200. I don't think you're going to find any other 6,200 driver with a C plus recent form rating, right? Like, that's wild. So no matter where he starts this race on Sunday, even if he starts top 5, I will have exposure to John Hunter Nemechek. So, drivers I highlighted here were Christopher Bell, who's the king of New Hampshire. They should just make him the mayor. Joey Logano. Both of those drivers took place in the NASCAR tire test once again. John Hunter Nemechek and Chase Briscoe. So, Nemechek, Bell, Logano, and Briscoe are my 4 drivers who I think you should absolutely have in your player pool, and maybe even depending on where they start this race, have overexposure to those 4 drivers. So other than that, let me look at my notes here, make sure I didn't miss anything in this little preview video. I didn't. I didn't, not according to my notes. Let me take one more quick look at the stone to make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to touch on here. No. Yeah, it's all fairly self-explanatory for right now. So, folks, if you have any questions concerning this slate on Sunday, please feel free to tag me on Discord. I will be around to answer questions. This is once again a slate preview video. And for final thoughts and content concerning the slate, please make sure to check out shipitnation.com. And if you aren't a member already, now's a great time to do so with 3 days for 3, code 3 for 3 over at shipitnation.com. And as always, let's ship it.